Welcome into another episode of Ravens Reports, man. We got some good news. We got some bad news. We have several star power players such as Darius Slay, Davante Adams, and a pretty good pass rusher in Nick Bosa that just became available, as well as DK Metcalf is now available for trade. We also got some bad news on Ronnie Stanley, man, and much more. So let's go ahead and dive into the content. At number one, let's start off with Nick Bosa recently being released by the Chargers. We know that last year the Chargers signed like 7 Baltimore Ravens free agents. They even grabbed our director of personnel as their new general manager. They grabbed Greg Roman. They got a Harbaugh brother. They tried to become the Baltimore Chargers. We know that. So could we give them a taste of their own medicine after they just released Nick Bosa, the star edge rusher? Now, very infrequently does it happen where a high caliber edge rusher of this caliber of Nick Bosa becomes available in free agency, where you don't have to give up trade capital. All you have to do is pay up with your salary cap. Let's talk about the good and the bad if the Ravens were to pursue this signing. So first of all, it would probably cost the Ravens anywhere from $15 to $20 million. It would not be cheap, but they do have options to open up salary cap, including a Lamar Jackson extension. They could use void years, Mark Andrews, trade, Justin Tucker, all that situation. So they got options to open up salary cap, but it's going to cost them if they pursue Nick Bosa. However, he's only 29 years old, and there's belief that he's still in the prime of his career. 72 career sacks. Last season, he had 6 sacks, including 1 in the playoffs. So when it mattered the most in playoffs, he was available, and he got a sack. He played 14 games in 2024, so was available most of the season. However, here's where it gets ugly. Here's the bad side of pursuing Nick Bosa. In 2022 and 2023 combined, he only played 14 games. I think in one season it was 5, in the other season it was 9. So he really struggled with injuries. And he hasn't had double-digit sacks since the year of 2021. Now, sack totals aren't end-all, be-all. With pass rush, we know sometimes players are very disruptive, force errant throws, force turnovers, cause disruption on the quarterback without getting sacks. We know sometimes the quarterback steps up due to a pressure, and then the defensive tackle gets the sack. However, Odafe Oweh and Kyle Van Noy, both who are on the roster, both had double-digit sacks in 2024. However, Nick Bosa, if healthy, there's no doubt he can still be one of the most dominant edge rushers in the National Football League. So I just want to ask you this in the comment section below. There's 3 guys that were recently released because they were cap casualties. Darius Slay, Davante Adams, and Nick Bosa. If you could only sign one of them, who would you pick and why? Let me know in the comment section below. I think Nick Bosa would help this pass rush. I really do. I think this could be a top-tier move, a big splash in free agency if he's healthy, where he could really cause disruption and be a great running mate with Odafe Oweh and Kyle Van Noy. Nick Bosa could really be a needle mover in the pass rush department and provide depth. And then don't forget, you got Matabike and Travis Jones rushing off the inside. And then it really opens you up to go BPA in the draft. You don't have to reach for a pass rusher, especially if we can get that deal done with Ronnie Stanley. You don't have to reach for a tackle. You can just go BPA because there won't be any massive holes in the roster if you grab a pass rusher and lock up Stanley in free agency. That kind of opens you up to go BPA in the draft. But at number 2, we got some bad news. All right, the Baltimore Ravens and Ronnie Stanley are still working towards a deal, but it hasn't happened yet. And we just got more reports that not only are the Patriots going to heavily pursue Ronnie Stanley if he hits free agency, but now the arch rival Kansas City Chiefs are, who have been in the way of the Ravens getting to a Super Bowl. They want to sign Ronnie Stanley, and they will pursue him. They just recently traded Joe Thuney, their guard, to the Bears, and they already had offensive line issues. So, man, if there's one player you don't want going to Kansas City, it's Ronnie Stanley to protect Patrick Mahomes' blindside. We can't just hand the Chiefs starting caliber left tackle in free agency. The same way that the Chargers could be handing the Baltimore Ravens a star caliber pass rusher and Nick Bosa in free agency. However, it's reported that Ronnie wants to stay in Baltimore. Baltimore wants to keep Ronnie, and that the Ravens are going to have to go up towards $21 million per year, maybe more, to keep him, because there are many potential suitors that are wanting his services. At number 3, another big-time player that was recently released is Davante Adams. For me, you guys can let me know if you disagree, that's fine. For me, out of these guys that were released, it would probably be Nick Bosa, number 1, to increase that pass rush. And then number 2, Davante Adams. Davante Adams, look at the numbers. This last year, playing with multiple quarterbacks, moving in the middle of the season, guys like Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell, and then declining Aaron Rodgers, 85 catches, 1,063 yards, and 8 touchdowns, averaging 12.5 yards per catch. Not only did he put up great numbers last year, he puts great numbers up every year. I mean, he's had 5 seasons in a row over 1,000 yards. I mean, in 2020, 1,300 yards, 1,500 yards, 1,500 yards, 1,100 yards, and then another 1,000-yard season with poor quarterback play. He's also a touchdown machine. He is an elite route runner down in the red zone to create separation and make quarterback-friendly throws in the red zone. That's why he puts up monstrous touchdowns every year. So 18 touchdowns, 11 touchdowns, 14, 8, and 8. So the dude's a touchdown machine. He's a bigger body, 6'1", 215 pounds, strong hands. I don't know if you guys watched him at all last year. I had him in fantasy, but he was still running past people. He was still explosive. The route running doesn't go anywhere for these receivers that get older. I think Davante on a 1 or 2 year deal would be a big boost to the offense. Imagine an offense with Davante Adams, Zay Flowers, Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson, Rashad Bateman, Likely and Andrews, Stanley coming back, Linderbaum, Rosengarten. You could have a historic offense. I mean, you've had historic offenses already with Lamar Jackson. Like last year, the Ravens had the 3rd highest yards per play in NFL history. Lamar Jackson had over 40 touchdowns to 4 interceptions, 3rd overall passer rating. Imagine you bring in Davante Adams. Now, you just have a need for more depth at the wide receiver position. It's Devontae Walker, Bateman, and Flowers. That's who's coming back right now. You have 3 other spots to fill. And if a guy goes down, if Zay Flowers goes down, you need a number 2. If Bateman goes down, you need a number 2. Someone has to be able to step up. And right now, if Zay and Bate were to go down, I mean, Devontae Walker's your wide receiver 1. And wide receiver injuries happen throughout the season. And even if they're short term, you need guys that can step up and be playmakers. Davante Adams would instantly add another flavor and another element to the Ravens wide receiver core. Now, here's a reminder of what Davante Adams had to say about going to play with Lamar Jackson, possibly having less targets versus playing, in a aired out offense and having more yardage. Here's what he had to say.
Speaking of Lamar Jackson, you could either play on a team where Lamar Jackson is the quarterback and you're guaranteed a Super Bowl, but as the leading receiver, you might have 858-yard season like Zay Flowers did, max. Or you could go to a team like Miami, Dallas, Detroit, where, they're slinging that thing. I know 2 of those have been eliminated, so they're not going to the Super Bowl, but they're slinging that thing, and perhaps your Hall of Fame career is solidified.
You can have CeeDee Lamb,
1,500-yard season.
1,700.
Hey, look. Hey, CD did his thing, and
Yes, he did.
I won't take no credit, but I did get on I Am Athlete and tell y'all boys CD was a top 5 receiver, and everybody was just trying to give me backlash and all that. And I said, okay. I said Mike Evans, he went in there and did what he did again. So I ain't gonna get into that. But I would say right now, man, I've had big seasons, man. To me, it's like, this is a long-winded answer, but to me, I think it's funny that we judge who's the best receiver off of who has the most yards anyway, because not everybody's getting the same targets. The offense ain't the same. That shouldn't be what's like. To me, if you have 1,300, somebody has 15 and a half, to me, you can have a better season than them with that 1,300, depending on what the touchdown and just how it looked, whatever you did. So I've had big seasons. I don't necessarily need the 1,700. That would feel great. And now, if you told me I was gonna get the record, I might have to think about something different. If you said 2K, then that might be
a little different.
I have to think about it. But if you're giving me a bowl and I get to get out there with Dub and Lamar and have fun, boys be having, I think I might take that 900 and keep it. Give me 10 tugs and I'm good.
Now, next up, another possibility is DK Metcalf. He just became available through trade. He's big, he's strong. However, if you look at his contested catch rate, it hasn't been great lately. He's more of a deep threat, yards after catch, physical, great over slants, kind of boxing people out over the middle of the field. But he hasn't necessarily been a jump ball 50-50 type of receiver. I know he has that body type, that frame, but that hasn't been his game. His game has been winning down the field, like running past people, yards after catch, breaking tackles, and running those over the middle type of routes. So not that I wouldn't welcome that. Trust me, I would welcome DK Metcalf. However, it's reported that the Seahawks want a first and a third round pick. Ain't no way. I mean, Deebo Samuel just went to the Commanders for a 5th round pick. I think Davante Adams last year, coming off like a 1,200 yard season, went for a 2nd or 3rd round pick. I still don't understand how the Ravens were able to get a 1st round pick for Marquise Brown, but Eric DeCosta, he's the GOAT. But there's just no way the Ravens are going to part ways with a 1st round pick and a 3rd round pick. It's too much. But if they were willing to come off that price, trust me, I'd love it. If it was a 2nd or 3rd round pick, I'd be interested. Deep threat, physical. He adds physicality to the Ravens wide receiver room. I love Bate, I love Zay, but they're not like run you over, bullies, tone-setting type of physical wide receivers like the Steve Smiths, like the Anquan Boldens, like the Deebo Samuels. I'd like to see another physical element added to the Ravens wide receiver core because we have physical players. Fullback, Patrick Ricard, Derrick Henry, running back, Lamar Jackson, he's stiff-arming people. He's got that swagger and the personality. The tight ends, Likely, and Andrews are really physical. Guys on defense, Roquan Smith and Kyle Hamilton will knock your head off. So the Ravens have that bully mantra, but the one position they don't really have it at is wide receiver. So DK Metcalf would add a little bit of that juice, if you know what I'm trying to say. The good with DK Metcalf as well is that every season he's been in the NFL, he's had over 900 yards and 5 touchdowns. He's healthy. He's been available. 3 out of his 6 seasons, he's over 1,000 yards, and he has 48 career touchdowns in only 6 seasons. So he's also a touchdown-producing machine. DK Metcalf, I would welcome him. I'm just saying if I had to choose between signing Davante Adams in free agency or trading for DK Metcalf, I would rather sign Davante Adams because he's going to be cheaper. It's reported DK Metcalf wants $30 million per year. Plus, I wouldn't have to give up draft capital for Davante Adams. And I believe over the next 1 or 2 years, Davante Adams would have similar production as DK Metcalf. Look at the numbers. DK Metcalf would be more of a long-term receiver if the Ravens wanted to go that option. But I would rather have my 1st round pick, possibly get a lockdown corner, a nice pass rusher, and then still have Davante versus not have a 1st round pick and then have DK and then also be $30 million in the hole in my salary cap. So I'm just thinking like big picture wise, I'd love to have DK, but the more probably smart move would be to sign Davante or another one of these wide receivers. That's our next up. There's tons of other options in free agency. Maybe they're not stars, but they're solid players. And the Ravens have 2 players that are pretty darn good. 1st round draft picks, Zay Flowers, over 1,000 yards last year. Rashad Bateman, you saw the numbers he put up, and he was a big playmaker down the field. And I still want Bateman to get more targets, man. Every time he got a target, he was producing for the Ravens. But there's other guys available. The Jaguars are planning to release wide receiver Christian Kirk, who's been a great playmaker. Keenan Allen is a free agent. DeAndre Hopkins is a free agent. Darius Slayton, who I'd love to bring into Baltimore. I think he'd be a great fit. He's a free agent. Elijah Moore, Amari Cooper, Stephon Diggs. There's a ton of guys that are free agents that are serviceable wide receivers that could come in and help be a, wide receiver 2 if a guy were to go down, a wide receiver 3, the rest of the time. But like I said, if there was one guy I'd pursue out of these guys that were recently released, I'd probably go Nick Bosa, just because the upside there, the importance of a pass rush. He has familiarity playing against Patrick Mahomes and has sacked him several times. So I'd go for Nick Bosa if I had to pick out of these guys. Then I'd probably go Adams, then Slay. I think Slay could be a good fit, but he apparently wants a decent deal in free agency as well. And he just won a Super Bowl with Philly, and apparently Philly wants him back on a lower deal. So let me know all of your thoughts in the comment section below, your top targets, who you think would fit here in Baltimore. And also let me know if there's any long-term roster implications or financial reasons why you would or would not sign these guys. Free agency is going to be a blast. I have a feeling there's going to be even more guys released here soon. And we're just about 3 days away from free agency frenzy opening up, man. We got to get this deal done with Ronnie Stanley, in my opinion. I think it's priority number one. You know, bring back continuity on the offensive line, keep Lamar Jackson clean, keep him comfortable. Yeah. Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section below. I love you guys. Appreciate you guys, and we'll see you in the next video.
Ray, when he wasn't looking, he ran me over.